Thought Bubble Audio.
Look, up in the sky!
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Welcome to Beer with Geeks with Tim and Frank.
Who are you?
I'm Batman.
I am Iron Man.
Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Hi, Christopher. I'm Nero.
My name is Inigo Montoya.
You're a wizard, Harry.
A couple of guys with a couple of beers and a whole lot of pop culture nostalgia.
Make it so, number one.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles.
Named the dog Indiana.
Life finds a way.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Now sit back and crack open a cold one, because it's time for Beer with Geeks.
It comes in paints.
Shaken, not stirred.
Great Scott!
I was way off. I knew it started with an S, though.
Hi, and welcome to Beer with Geeks, where two geeks geek out with beer. I'm Tim, and with me, as always, is my man who loves getting trapped in a dome. It's Frank. How are you today?
Live from the DC Fandome. Here, this is the proverbial soccer field where all the heroes always fight each other, and I'm coming to you.
Place, Frank.
This is it.
Yes, this is the same place.
Yep.
They stole our idea, obviously.
Clearly. I think that's the only possible explanation, that they listened to our podcast and stole our idea. So
That's
live coverage from the Fandome. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing quite well, Frank. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I'm doing just fine. It's great to be bringing this live coverage on a podcast, which is by nature not live. Very excited to be breaking boundaries like this.
I was wondering why you kept saying live, and I was going to call you out for it. I'd be like, Frank, one, Fandom was days ago.
Yeah.
So confused by your bit. Tell me what beer you're drinking.
I'm drinking. I got a big shipment of. This is like so pretentious, but I'm just excited. I got a big shipment of a bunch of like Belgian beers and like Trappist beers.
God, that is so pretentious.
I know it is. It's like it's my favorite kind of beer. At my bachelor party, we went to a Belgian beer bar. Because it's one of my favorite. It's my favorite kind of beer. But yeah. I'm drinking a Gulden Draak quad, a quadruple. It's actually called the Gulden Drop 9000 quadruple, an exception golden amber quadruple ale. High fermentation, 4 times more malt than a lager. It's a product of Belgium. It is wonderful. I absolutely love it. It's very, it's rich. It's kind of sweet. It's, I mean, quads are very, it's high ABV. It's 10.7%. This is some of the finest Belgian beer that you can buy. I found a website that will ship to almost all 50 states. I think they ship to like 46 states or something. BelgianStyleAles.com. And that's where I made a big shipment. I was getting together with some family and friends this weekend, so I ordered a big shipment so we could sort of party, and I brought home some of what was left over. We all brought home some of what was left over, and I'm enjoying this. So I'll over the next couple of weeks, you might hear me going through a bunch of these that I've got sitting in my fridge. I'm very excited about this because these are some of my favorite beers that I've ever had. So it's cool to be able to get them shipped to home. So Gulden Draak quad.
That sounds great. It sounds like you're really enjoying yourself.
I really am.
For you.
I really am.
For being that way.
Thank you.
I am drinking a Castle Island, which is rather local.
A little more local than Belgium, yes.
Yes, slightly more local than Belgium.
Yeah.
Yep. But I am drinking a Budswell, which is a sour ale with some apricot.
Ooh.
It's a 5.5. I drink sours are not my thing usually, but for some reason this summer, every time I have a sour, I've really enjoyed it. This one included.
Huh.
So maybe it's just my 2020 mood. Maybe it's just 2020 is a little sour, and so are my beers.
I do feel like it was just recently that you were talking about another. Maybe it was Mayflower, or there was another sour that you had recently.
It was the Mayflower. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Another local
one. Yeah.
Yeah. But for whatever reason, their sours seem to be moving in a weirdly less sour direction, and it's more like a sweet and sour.
Do you think that's the beers, or do you think that's your palate sort of adjusting to, like, your tastes are changing?
It could be both, as a turning the age of Flubbity Flub. Then it could be my tastes are changing. That's possible. But these sours that I've been given have all, or they've been given to me. It's not like most of them I haven't gone to the store to pick out a sour. They've been, hey, try this, or I didn't like this, so you take them, or something like that. So they've just kind of come to me.
Gotcha.
And so I don't know. Maybe because they've been free, I've enjoyed them. More.
Beer always tastes 25% better when it's free. At minimum 25% better.
Minimum 25% better. That's correct.
Statistically speaking.
Yes, and 57% of all statistics are made up on the spot, Frank.
That
so
I've heard that. I've heard that.
So the odds are kind of not in your favor.
I would say about 18% of the time that I've heard that, it came from you.
That's possible. I would really ball it at like 38% personally, but that's 80 seems high. But when you're talking in the world of fake statistics, Frank, anything's possible.
I suppose that's true.
Yeah, even the flibbited gibbet percentage, whatever that is. Frank, we talked about DC Fandome already, so what a good episode this was.
This has been great.
Yeah.
Live coverage.
Live coverage, DC Fandome. We were there, recording live the whole time. I did watch it. I did watch it live. I told my wife that she wasn't allowed to talk to me from 1 p.m. to 9 p.m. This past Saturday, and she even watched some of it with me, which was more impressive, I think, than anything else.
Wow.
Because I said it starts with Wonder Woman. She's like, oh, I like Wonder Woman, so she watched the Wonder Woman panel.
Nice.
And then came like in and out, and so, but definitely like lost interest after Wonder Woman pretty severely.
Wonder Woman, and then
it dipped quickly.
Sure. Sure.
So let's just run through Fandome. These are the things that happened, and I'm gonna from best memory go in order.
Okay, you're going by memory. All right, I like this. I have a couple of articles pulled up. I was not able to watch live. I was in a place with not great cell reception, but I was able to keep up, with using the internet. Later in the day, I watched the videos, I read articles, recapping a lot of the stuff. I've put some of the articles that I read in the show notes today, so if you want to follow along with us. One in particular I want to call out is from Complex, and that is written by friend of the show, William Goodman. Did a great job. Yeah, Goodman did a great job recapping some of the highlights of what we learned from Fandome. So a bunch of articles in there if you want to follow along with us. But Tim's going to try and go by memory. So who am I to...
I'm going to go by memory. So we'll spend more time on some and less than on others. But, let's hit it all.
Let's hit the high points.
First, let's start with Wonder Woman 84. This movie we should have seen twice already, I think, something like that. So the hype is there, but I'm just ready to see it now because we've seen so much footage. What was exciting about Wonder Woman 84, apart from clearly that everyone just likes each other, which I really enjoy. If you watched the panel, they just all really like each other. They have a good time, and they're very excited for everybody to see the movie, obviously. But we have a third trailer, and we have finally seen Kristen Wiig's Cheetah in her fully formed cheetah-ness. And she looks great.
Looks pretty cool.
Looks cool. She looks scary.
Yeah. She's a pretty menacing villain. It's always whenever you have a comedic actor playing a serious role, it's always the question of like, can they hack it? And we've seen her do some serious stuff. I mean, she did Skeleton Twins, and even her character on Last Man on Earth was kind of serious in some aspect. So I've seen her do serious before, but this looks good. This looks pretty good. The look is good. She comes off as a good, credible villain. Maxwell Lord looks good too.
He does. I actually, Pedro Pascal was talking about his power suits.
Yeah. There are 80s power suits,
and he was like, they showed him power suits, and he was like, I'm gonna look like an idiot. That's what I'm gonna have to. How do I play menacing in that? But he's like, but that's the genius. I can't remember the costume designer's name, but they're like, that's the genius of them, that they've still figured out a way for me to like look like I can do something terrible, but also not be an idiot and wear a power suit. And so, so nothing but praise.
Yeah, it looks great. I am excited. We kind of got a little more insight into like how Steve Trevor is there, and
I still think he's not real.
I don't want to spoil stuff, but sort of what the conceit is of what Maxwell Lord is doing and what he's offering to people, I think is how Steve Trevor is there, if that makes sense.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And but it depends if what he's offering might actually be true. You know, like we think that what he's offering is illusionary, but like it seems from the third trailer that he offers Barbara like
something she wants.
Cheetah. She wants something she wants, and she gets it. Like, she literally is that thing.
Yeah, that's true.
So
that's true.
So maybe he is actually back. So I always love a good fish out of water story. So I'm excited to see Steve Trevor be a fish out of water.
Oh, that's
be the one to take him around instead.
Chris Pine is so good at that kind of humor too. Like I feel like the whole outfit montage kind of reminds me of the whole Captain Kirk Numtung thing from Star Trek, you know, like
yes, very good.
Yeah, so
everyone parachutes now.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's going to be good fun.
Yeah, I think it will too. I don't think they really reveal too much else besides that though. So which is good. They're still holding a lot back. Like we still really don't know what the movie is about. It's broad strokes at best, and so like, oh, you learn if you didn't know that Cheetah's a bad guy. Now you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Hey, a quick sidebar on Wonder Woman 84. I love that you shared with me the news that Paramount is announcing that they're going to pursue a 4th Star Trek sequel.
You know that was a joke.
Yeah, I know. Oh, okay. but just that the article used the yes. It was like it wasn't The Onion, right? But it was one of those sorts of parody pieces where they were saying that they were going to do a fourth Star Trek and that it was going to be a remake of Star Trek 4 where they save the whales and go back in time. But the funny thing was that they used that parachute pants picture, which was just perfect for that. Like just so perfect. I loved it.
That was designed just for you.
Yes, that was a joke. Really,
such a brag joke.
Yeah.
Yep. So let's move on from Wonder Woman 84 because I don't think there's too much to dive in there. They didn't besides the trailer, which is a lot of stuff we've seen. You know, like the Amazon games and you know the White House and blah blah blah. It was really Cheetah that was their big reveal, and she looks cool. She looks better
cool.
than the cats.
Yes.
That was the fear.
That was the baseline, and I think they cleared that. So
yes, they did. So let's move on to WB Games Montreal announced their new game inside the Arkham verse, or just it is inside the Arkham verse, and it's Gotham Knights. And so it's post Arkham Knight, right? And so you're Batman is dead, and you're either and you get to play Red Hood, Nightwing, Batgirl, and Tim Drake's Robin. Confirmed Tim Drake's Robin.
Nice.
And it looks super fun because it's co-op too. So if you want to play everybody, and you can switch between anybody at any point. So if I decide to play Nightwing to start, and I want to switch to Batgirl, I can do that.
I love that.
Me too. But if you want to come over or play online, and you want to be Red Hood, and I want to be Red Hood, but you know what? I'm a good friend, so I'll play Robin instead. We can do that. And I like that. I'm jazzed. I'm not a huge gamer, but I'll play the superhero games, especially the Arkham games.
Right.
And I liked Montreal's Arkham Batman. I liked their Batman game. Like people were like, it didn't add anything. I'm like, well, but it was a good story and the gameplay was fun. So what do I care? Like that's all I'm really looking for here.
Sure.
And it looks like you can change their armor and their costumes as they go. You know, I love a good costume.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Tim Drake looks like he becomes Red Robin through the course of the game based on some of the gameplay, which is cool. Yeah. You know, and you got Batgirl in her purple, which I also dig the purple.
Love that.
Yeah. So I'm excited about that.
Nice.
Did you watch the trailer for it?
I did. Yeah. Yeah. It looks really, really good. I am not current on game. You keep me up to date on the Arkham games. But I don't have like personal experience to add to it, but it does look really, really cool.
And Court of Owls.
Court of
right?
Owls. I was I was literally going to say what. Yeah.
That's been rumored for a long time that they were going to do a Court of Owls some game somewhere in there, and so I'm glad to be confirmed about that because they're cool. I feel like sometimes they like play test things inside the game world or the cartoons. I mean, they definitely do this, but to be like, see how the audience reacts to this,
right?
And then they take it and go somewhere and take it and go somewhere else with it.
Yep. They do like to do that, and it's smart, honestly. Like use that as a launching pad for putting characters or pieces of your world into the more mainstream pieces of your franchises. I think that's smart.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So that looks cool.
It does. Let's move on. There was a Sandman panel. I watched it. I'm not a huge Sandman reader, but I love Neil Gaiman.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'll listen to Neil Gaiman talk. And he had a microphone, which that was the thing that I took away from it. People were Zooming basically through all these events. They're doing it in their home. WB had sent people green screens for certain, like that's how they like put it all together in their homes in the pandemic, which was fun. But he had like a podcasting microphone.
That's great.
He had it up, and so his clarity was excellent.
That's great.
So and I wondered if that was maybe he recorded some of the audiobook at home, and so like he had the microphone ready to go.
Interesting.
So it talked about just the impact of Sandman, the universe, the audiobook that's come out with director Dirk Maggs, who is kind of a look and a mood. I recommend you look up Dirk Maggs at the end. He's or use your lookup now, whatever you want.
I'm going to use my lookup. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, Dirk Maggs.
He is He is like a pirate. I don't know. Like a
pirate with a mullet.
Yeah, it's big. It's cool.
All right. I'm putting a picture of Dirk and Neil in the show notes.
Cool. You want to respect Dirk Maggs though, because Dirk Maggs was the director of the BBC Radio Death of Superman program from the 90s.
Right on. That was excellent.
Yeah.
Wow.
Same guy. Yeah.
Wow.
So respect the Mags. Yeah.
Respect the Mags. Absolutely.
So then this was clever programming on DC Fandome's part because they did a Multiverse 101 panel and it was like Walter Hamada and Jim Lee. And they hey, in case anybody doesn't know about the multiverse, this is just kind of like, this is what it is and how it works and blah, blah, blah. And in that, it was confirmed, Walter Hamada, who's in charge of DC Films, this output, and he said, like, we're just, like, make a good movie because of the multiverse. Like, it's just everything is the multiverse. Said confirmed Matt Reeves' the Batman is its own timeline. It's its own thing. It's not connected. He's just doing his own thing in that corner. And Joker is not connected to that, and it's just make a good movie.
Things can be their own
series, and it can be good. They can be their own thing because the multiverse. That's what we have, and it's funny because that's what DC fans have been saying for so long. That was the argument back in the day when you couldn't put Bruce Wayne on Smallville,
right?
Like calm down, everybody. Or you couldn't have Superman fly or wear a costume or whatever, because there's a Superman in the movies.
Right. You couldn't have the Flash on Smallville be called the Flash. We called him Impulse because we didn't want to confuse people and be like, well, there's already we're going to have a Flash in a Justice League movie that never actually happened. So we don't want to confuse people. So we're going to call him Impulse. And that was the argument people were using, was like, can't we just say that there's separate continuities and leave it at that? Like, people understand, like, there's a Flash in the movies, there's a Flash on TV, they're different, it's fine.
It's true. And truthfully, if people don't understand, they'll figure it out. Somebody will tell them.
Right. I don't think it's that confusing. I think that's really more confusing in the minds of people at the studios than it is in real life.
I think so too. But I think we're also past that point. We're definitely past that point.
We are.
Way past it. And so, because that led right into the Flash panel, which was fun. I appreciated the Flash fact and and all that stuff. If you watch it with Ezra and the director and everything, but they showed off concept art, which was pretty spiffy. That was pretty much the only new thing that they have. So his suit is not the armored strap look, but they called it like an organic movement thing. He kind of almost looks like what's that? Not bobsledding, but like ice. What's the ice racing?
Luge.
Luge. No, not the. It's not the tunnel or anything, but it's like speed ice racing. I can't think of the name of it for the life of me.
Speed skating?
Maybe it's speed skating. I don't know. But anyway, the costume kind of reminded me of that. It has that same kind of vibe to it, but I like it. It looks like you can move in it and breathe in it.
Right.
It's fun, like almost weirdly influenced by the CW version, right?
Yeah.
Because when they meet each other and they're like, wow, yours looks, safe. And he's like, yours looks breathable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Comfy.
I had that thought that it kind of feels like it's they're taking a page from that. Because like all the costumes so far have felt very armor like for all the Justice League members, right? Maybe except for Superman. The rest have been very much like armor based.
Yeah. Batman's BVS look is costume, more costume than armor. But his like second Justice League look is definitely more armor.
Yeah. So that's definitely been a through line. But to have this be more of a fabric costume by design is cool.
It's cool. I like the fabrics. And of course, right before Fandome, it was confirmed that Ben Affleck is reprising his role as Bruce Wayne, maybe Batman, for the beginning of the Flash movie. And if you kind of read the context of all of that, he's basically, they say, like, this Flash thinks of Ben Affleck's Batman as the original Batman, right? So before he goes off into and creates a Flashpoint, that it would make sense for him to have a conversation with the OG Batman, right? The director, Andy Muschietti, I think is his last name.
That's how I read it.
Yeah. So he says, like people don't really think about the Flash and Batman having a lot in common, but they do. I mean, they're both scientists in their own right, and both of their moms were murdered. Like right from that's something that they share with one another that not everybody else on the Justice League, most everybody else on the Justice League doesn't understand.
Right.
That kind of pain. So for Bruce to almost not tell Barry to go do it, but to like prompt him to do something like, like that, like I can't do something like that, but maybe you can, you have that power. Maybe I like that a lot. And it also grounds like Batman Zero or Batman Prime to then go out for Flash to meet all these different Batmen. Because in the concept art, you see Michael Keaton's Batman behind Flash. So I'm surprised they didn't necessarily confirm it at the panel.
Okay, that's what I was curious about, because I'd heard all the conversation about it on the internet and I saw the art, but I was like, did they say Keaton's name, or is it just like we can? I mean, obviously we can all look and see with our eyes that is concept art of the Keaton '89 Batman style costume, but I was curious, were the words Michael Keaton said at that panel?
Nope.
Okay.
Not at all. Technically, I think he was still in talks, like when that news broke, one of those like test the water, see if anybody cares kind of thing. But I think with Ben's inclusion would kind of, and between they showed the concept art, which to me, like they wouldn't show it if it wasn't happening.
I think you're right. I think you're right.
Yeah. So it's very exciting. I'm pumped. I'm more excited for Flash than I had been previously.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just because maybe it's just because I like Batman more than the Flash. So I'm like secretly like I'm going for Batman.
I mean, it got me more excited than I was for that movie. Like I was only so excited, especially all the start and stop that has happened over the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
I love the Flash, but I haven't loved Ezra's take on it. And then all the start and stop just sort of made me feel like, maybe this is never going to happen anyway. I don't want to get excited for a thing that's never going to happen. But obviously it is happening, and obviously it's a very ambitious project. So they got me back.
I will be curious to see I will be curious to see what his take on the character is in the Snyder Cut versus what we saw. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But then also, just what he brings in his own movie, right? Because you got to bring a different kind of energy,
exactly.
In less of an ensemble film. So we'll see what happens. And then next up was the Suicide Squad.
James Gunn.
James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. We learned a lot in that panel, which and trailer / behind the scenes thingy. Most importantly, we finally found out the lineup of the Suicide Squad. That was something that we had not known previously.
That's right.
Now we know who everybody's playing and what their role is, and it is. My God, did he go for bottom of the barrel?
What a cat! He went for every name in Hollywood.
He did, but then, which is great because if you watch that panel, they were having a ball. They crapped on Michael Rooker more than anybody. It was funny. Oh, this is the best time I've ever had in my life, except for having to talk to Michael Rooker, of course. Just back and forth. But I like the lineup a lot. I like who everybody is. Rick Flag's back, obviously. Polka Dot Man, I'm pumped for because it's dumb and I love it. I'm weirdly excited to see Polka Dot Man.
That's funny.
Almost anybody else. I like David. I like that actor David Desmalkin. Something. I think that's how you say his name. He was in The Dark Knight. He's the guy that Harvey Dent, criticized. He's been in the Ant-Man movies and Flash, and so we got some King Shark. I love some King Shark.
Never thought I'd see King Shark on the big screen.
No kidding, right? He actually looks kind of chubby. He almost looks like King Shark from Harley Quinn.
Yes,
he's got that same vibe. I like that a lot. T-Day Key, Sosoria, Javelin, Blackguard. These are randos from nowhere, and that's kind of fun. Weasel, I think, is great because Sean Gunn is playing Weasel, right? So I think James goes to his brother's so you played a raccoon,
right?
Now you're gonna play a weasel.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. I like
that a lot too.
We still don't know what Taika Waititi is gonna be in this film.
No, we don't. Though I have heard that it's possible that the main villain of the Suicide Squad is actually Starro the Conqueror.
Ooh, okay.
So it might be that Taika is the voice of Starro the Conqueror.
Okay.
Which I'm on board for. Personally.
That's going to be fantastic if that's the case.
Yes,
yeah.
I would love that. So of course you got your regulars, your Captain Boomerangs, and your Harley Quinns, and we've got Savant, which is Michael Rooker. Savant was in a Birds of Prey comic for a while. Gail Simone's run. That's where Savant comes from. I actually know that character, so I was like, "Hey, I'm actually weirdly excited about that."
That's exciting.
It's cool. Peter Capaldi's the Thinker, which is great. We saw the Thinker on season 4 of The Flash.
Yeah. I love Peter Capaldi.
4. Me too. Amanda Waller's back, obviously. Michael Cena is Peacemaker. He described him as a douchey Captain America.
Yes. John Cena. John
Cena. What did I say? James Cena? I don't know who that is. That's a rando. Mongal, Ratcatcher 2, which is great because I feel like that's they were very specific about it in the panel. James Gunn was like Ratcatcher 2. And so it's not the first one.
Okay. Noted.
Idris is Bloodsport. Famously in prison for shooting Superman. That was the so I wonder if that's I wonder if that will be continuity in the film. That'll be something. I like Harley's new look.
It's a good look.
It's a good look. She looks like she belongs with the group. I never cared for the aesthetic of the first film because they just here are my street clothes. I'm going into battle. At least the leather is slightly protective.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I think a lot of the costumes for the Suicide Squad actually don't look great. They look like they're on the cheap. And I think that's because a lot of these characters are the C and D list. I can't afford the good costume.
Right.
So
I like
I
that.
have to wear the crappy one.
Which is a very Harley Quinn, animated TV show sort of joke you'd expect.
Yes.
It very much fits that sense of humor. So that's really fun.
Yep.
That's really fun.
I'm excited about that. So yeah, it looks like it's good fun. There was a Legacy of the Batman panel. I don't think this was actually when we were chatting back and forth about stuff. So John Ridley, the screenwriter of 12 Years a Slave, is going to write a 4-part Batman story that's in continuity, I think.
Love that.
And he said, "quote 47% chance that Batman will be a person of color."
I had read that, and I find that a really, really cool idea. That I hope happens. I hope that happens. I think that'd be really, really great.
Yeah, it says it follows the Lucius Fox's family.
Yes,
so,
yes.
like, is it Luke Fox or is it somebody different? I'm quite curious.
I bet it's Luke. I would bet it's Luke Fox.
Well, you remember back when 5G was supposed to be a thing, that there was a big rumor that Bruce Wayne wasn't going to be Batman anymore and Luke Fox was going to be Batman. So maybe this is like a splintering off.
Yeah,
of that idea.
Taking that concept in a different direction, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not positive about that, but that's pretty exciting. That's pretty exciting news. Milestone is coming back. Static Shock, Icon, Rocket.
Like wow. Like wow. I couldn't believe that, and I was actually like thrilled about that. Fantastic. Like great, perfect. I think it's the right thing to do in this day and age. I love that they're going to start republishing the old comics again, starting next month. Like immediately, they're going to go digitally. They're going to republish old Milestone comics, and then they're talking about doing a Static movie.
Yep, I thought that was cool too. Yeah, and I mean that's really how I think new characters are so hard to sell in comics, and characters that have been even around since like the 90s or whatever, and they've like the Milestone characters have come and gone. They've never really had a huge like footprint. They've a lasting impact for so long, continuing book. So maybe but Static Shock has people fondly remember the show and won an Emmy or two, so maybe the movie is the way to get the next generation to care about Milestone.
I hope so. I've got to think that at some point Warner Brothers is having conversations about, what's our Black Panther moment? Like how do we break through like that? To have something that is a very representative, a person of color as the protagonist, as the superhero that breaks through and is a crossover, just hit across the board, right? It's a major. I mean, that movie got an Oscar nomination for God's sake. So like, how do we do that? And they're looking at their bench of heroes that are in the films already. And, Vic Stone is not really, Cyborg is not really an, I hesitate to say he's not an A-lister, but he maybe doesn't support his own mainstream film. Like he's just not the character has never really supported his own comic series as a major success, never supported his own TV series as a major success or as a film. So they're looking for who do we have that we can do that with? And I feel like to turn to Static is a very, very wise move, because you're going to have the nostalgia factor from kids who watched the show growing up and are now adults with money to spend on a movie. And it's a chance to seize the moment where there is a hunger for that kind of representation and for that kind of a hero to, top the box office. So I think it's a really, really smart move. I'm saying this because I very rarely give Warner Brothers credit for their decisions, and I want to give them credit because I think this is a smart one.
Yep, I'm good. Yeah, that's true. You do very rarely.
I'm so often I'm like, what the hell are they doing? But I'm like, hey, I see what you did there, and it was smart move,
No,
and the right thing to do.
Smart.
Great business decision and the right thing to do.
Yep, both things. I agree. They're doing a Static digital first series as well, and then relaunching Milestone in February. So we'll see. I actually like Icon in Rocket. Whenever they pop up and things, so I'm like, yeah, give me more Icon.
Yeah,
actually, I would like to see that.
I love that.
The Snyder Cut Justice League panel.
I heard that there was a secret chord.
Yeah,
I
saw somebody say
played
tell
and
Zack
it
Snyder
pleased
you
the
can't use that
Lord.
song anymore.
What's that?
So I saw somebody tweet. It was like, tell Zack Snyder you can't use that song anymore.
I know, really. It's true. I didn't even think about that. That's one Watchmen. Oh man. Oh, that's so true.
But I do like that. It was like the hallelujah, like it's here, like it has risen.
He loves syncing up stuff to that song. Wow, like poignant moments, or not even necessarily poignant moments, but just like he loves to cut to that song.
He does. It's a good song. I can't blame him for cutting to it.
Yeah.
So there was a bunch of new footage, or alternate takes from the for the trailer for the Snyder Cut. personally, some of the extra stuff that I saw, I was like, why wasn't that in the movie the first place?
I know. A lot of the like alternate takes were like just better takes. Like
they were better takes,
better performances. Right? Like a lot of it. Honestly, I was like, this does kind of. I've been a huge skeptic, and I was sort of like, this does kind of look like a better movie, at least the way this is being delivered.
Right. Exactly. But even just some of the emotional moments or hopeful, like even like, Batman's like, he's never fought us together. Like, that's like, hello.
Yeah.
Like, that's a nice thing to say for everybody. Like Clark hugging Lois and his mother.
I know.
Like, where was that? That was great.
I guess once they decided they weren't going to go the dark side route, they had to they probably had to cut entire storylines that were dependent on that, or that were, the scenes that talked about that too much or whatever. That wouldn't make sense without that dialogue. So I'm guessing that's where a lot of it went.
It's possible. I mean, it could be. There's a lot of that going on. We got our look at Euxis, who's Darkseid. It's Darkseid before he gets the Omega beams. That's like the distinction there. So he looks good. He looks a little CG right now, but like, maybe he's not. Maybe he's not done.
Yeah, I'm assuming he's not done.
Yeah, because some of the other guys, they look okay.
Uh-huh.
Like, they look better. Yeah. So we saw a quick turnaround of Desaad, Darkseid's master torturer, who looks super cool. And we have the original look for Steppenwolf, like what he was supposed to look like, which I tweeted out, which I think is still blowing up right now, which is crazy. I feel like top of the world.
Yeah, you went viral.
But it looks like H.R. Geiger and H.P. Lovecraft and Kirby's original creation had a baby. Like,
you're spot on though.
Yeah,
I'm gonna put Tim has a sort of a pretty viral tweet, viral at least among the DC and comic book fan community. So I'm going to put that in the show notes for everyone to see if you haven't seen it already. But yeah, you're spot on with that.
Yeah, it looks. See, like, even like if you want, see, that was crazy. Like, so they recut Justice League, they reshot, they did they changed all these things. But I'm like looking at these, I'm like, these are actually better. Like, this is not like a personal taste over whatever. Like, this is way cooler.
Yeah, it just looks better. It does look better. I again, like, I'm very willing to admit that I was skeptical, and yeah, it looks really freaking cool. So
yeah, and so it's going to be 4 parts, right? There, he's releasing everything. It's going to be 4 hour-long parts on HBO Max.
As like a mini series first, and then you'll be able to go back and watch it as a movie.
That's right. Yeah, they're figuring out a way to do that. And people who don't have HBO Max, countries that don't have HBO Max, they are saying, "Oh, like we're figuring out a way to distribute it across the world." So
I'm sure they'll make some deal with Netflix internationally, or one of those, or just make it available for purchase or rental, whatever, internationally.
Sure. Yeah, whatever it is. But I mean, it stunk when we got Justice League in the theaters and we watched it. And we were like, that was a movie that I saw. It's fine. It has some moments, as all movies do. But yeah, surely we could have done better. But in a weird way, this is better because now I can watch it from the comfort of my home and watch an additional 2 extra hours of stuff that I would have not have been able to see in the theater because you would have cut it somewhere.
Right.
So I'm getting more superheroes. Like, that's a win. That's a win for me.
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so.
I'm excited. There was a Flash TV panel. I'll be honest, I didn't watch the second half. I haven't watched anything but Supergirl after the Crisis on Infinite Earths. So I couldn't really speak to anything, but good for the Flash. It's happening. I'm still behind on the last season of the Flash. The last few episodes, it wasn't really gripping me. It hasn't really. I really do want to finish it, and I honestly, whether I finish it or not, I'm going to continue and watch the next season. But I may just pick it up with the season premiere and not bother to. Yeah, because the premiere is in part the finale, they said.
Right.
So it's in some ways. But what they did the Gotham model where they did the 13 episodes leading up to Crisis was one story, and afterwards was a completely different villain, different story, different everything. So maybe I'll actually like the second half better. I don't know, but either way, let's move on to Black Adam. The Rock did a panel, and he was great.
And he did a motion comic too.
He did with Boss Logic,
Yeah,
which was cool.
So cool.
Yeah. The story sounds fun. It sounds great. It's exactly what I wanted from a Black Adam movie, where he's ruthless, but you can understand where he's coming from, even in the things. Like I'm here to protect people. Like these are my people. Don't mess with them. Don't mess with me. And I really like that. But truthfully, we knew he was playing this part years ago. So I'm like, okay, it's happening. It's finally happening. I am jazzed for Dr. Fate, Hawkman especially, Cyclone, and Atom Smasher. The JSA on the big screen. Please and thank you.
How awesome is that? I am so psyched for that.
Me too.
I am not okay. Here's a frank contradiction, self-contradiction. I'm not an anti-hero fan by and large. Don't love the anti-hero thing for the most part. Punisher, not really my thing. But Black Adam, there's something about Black Adam. Maybe it's because I'm bought in on the whole Shazam family stuff, and so Black Adam being sort of the other side of that coin. But I like Black Adam. Also, sort of came of age during a time when Black Adam was a major figure with 52 and all that stuff. But man, I'm into this. I've always been into the casting of when they cast Dwayne Johnson. I was immediately sold on that. And this animatic motion comic teaser they've put together for it illustrates it in a really, really cool way. That if this is sort of the aesthetic of the movie, I'll be very, very pleased. I have a lot of hope for it. It's going to be a long time before we see it, but so far I'm into it in sort of a way that you wouldn't expect me to be into an anti-hero story starring Dwayne Johnson, but I'm liking what I'm seeing so far. It's a different animal than typical, and I'm on board with that.
On your anti-hero point, I think because I don't really care for anti-heroes either. They're not. I don't gravitate towards them anyway. But I almost consider Black Adam to be like Doctor Doom. Like they're very I think I like them because they have an honor code. I wouldn't call it a morality code necessarily, but they do have this sense of honor, kind of like Ra's al Ghul or any of these other people. They're like, I will kill all of you, but I will only do it if for the right reasons. I'm not a psychopath.
They have a cause, right?
Yeah.
They have a cause. They have something that they're fighting for.
Yeah.
Not just
and
against.
Adam's not aggressive. He's isolationist. Like Adam's like, leave me alone. Like, I don't want to go near you. And so I like this idea that the JSA is the aggressor here, what it seems like in the film. Plus Dr. Fate and Hawkman are my two faves.
Nice.
So next to him and a Wildcat. So I'm pumped for some JSA action.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's shaping up to be something super cool, and I hope it lives up to sort of the hype that I've drummed up in my head.
Me too. I know you don't watch Titans, but really briefly, season 3 is moving forward, and Jason Todd didn't die, but he is going to become the Red Hood and be the villain of season 3.
All right.
Which is something. I mean, the show is so different than again, the multiverse. Do whatever you want. I don't care. So he's going to be the villain in season 3, and the gang's moving to Gotham, which I think is interesting, and it's going to be Commissioner Barbara Gordon teaming up with Nightwing because her dad has passed away, and Bruce is basically retired at this point, and so it's like the next generation of Gordon Batman Gotham Knight, and it's going to be like, what is our relationship like in comparison to the original relationship of Gordon and Batman?
That's a really cool dynamic, like the next generation.
I like that too. I like that, and Scarecrow is also going to be a main villain. So I'm on board for all of that because I like all of those things. So I'm looking forward to that. And there was a Shazam panel. They didn't really release anything much, so it was just the gang kind of getting together, except that The next movie is called Shazam: Fury of the Gods, and potentially has Sinbad in it, who was on the panel, which was hilarious.
Shazam?
Like, no,
because
Sinbad,
because of Shazam.
Shazam, the movie that he was not
That he
in,
was not in,
it,
yeah.
it never made.
Never happened,
also,
yeah.
The movie Kazam, also not a thing that he
Shaq,
was in.
yeah.
That was Shaq, right? Exactly. So, but he's like in the little fake poster that they made for the movie.
Oh
So
my
it's
God.
like actually undetermined. Like I still don't know if he's in the movie. Or not, which I think
It's like committed to the bit so hard you can't tell if it's a joke or if it's
they
real.
committed so hard. I don't know if it was a joke or not.
I bet he
don't
has a
want to
cameo.
be in
I
it.
hope he has a cameo or something in it, and that he wears like a wizard's outfit so that like we can finally make that a reality.
Me too. Oh man, I will love it. So I'm looking forward to Shazam 2 because the first one is good fun. So I'd like to see what happens with the second one.
Me too. The first one was good fun. I was a little bummed that there wasn't more to tell us, but it's a couple years away. So, but important question for you: do you or do you not, or did you feel like you remembered a movie called Shazam starring Sinbad?
I remembered Kazam, but I couldn't remember who was in it.
Okay,
So it could have been Sinbad.
so you remembered Kazam. I was very much in the camp when if someone approached me and was like, "Hey, you remember that movie with Sinbad called Shazam?" I'd be like, "I didn't see it, but yeah, I remember the movie." Like I was very confident it was a real thing. And then when it came out that like so many people were convinced that it was real, I was like, all right, so I'm not alone. It just was a very trippy thing for me. It was the first time I'd really experienced that Mandela effect in that way. That was the first one that Berenstain Bears didn't do it for me. But Nelson Mandela himself didn't do it for me. But that one, Shazam, did it for me, where I was like, no, I'm convinced this is real. And it turned out I was wrong. So
The Berenstain Bears one is one that really got me because we both said it apparently the wrong way, even though
we've all been saying it the wrong way.
you know what? But I don't care. It's the Berenstain Bears. Like whatever. Don't
But
care.
I had always remembered like, oh yeah, it's pronounced this way, but it's spelled that way, and that's weird.
I didn't even know that. It's just literally always been the Berenstain Bears, and I've never heard a different version. So it's Barry's just messing up the timeline all the time. That's what that is.
Yeah.
You're not a gamer, but the next Rocksteady game, the Arkham game developers are doing Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. And that's coming out in 2022. So there's like still tons of time before that game appears. Same universe again, it appears. And you play between Deadshot, King Shark, Boomerang, and Harley Quinn. So another co-op, which is cool. And it looks like Brainiac is taking control of the Justice League. So Kill the Justice League is they're controlled by Brainiac, and it's the only way to stop them kind of thing. I'm looking forward to it. Suicide Squad is hit or miss for me. Like I like it when it's good, but it's not something that I gravitate towards all the time. Again, because it's like a little step beyond anti-heroes. They're not exactly that. So you have to sell me on it a little bit harder. Like you don't have to sell me on Harley Quinn. I love Harley Quinn, but or King Shark or even Deadshot. I like when they show up in different things, but I'm kind of tired of evil Superman in video games. That's what that
was my first. That's like really my only takeaway, and I wasn't gonna share that, but the fact that you said it, I'm like, all right, yeah, like that's my takeaway too. It's just like again, okay,
like that's the best you got for me. Like evil Superman again. Like I'd rather have you just say that Superman's off world and he's not evil.
Honestly, I would rather that.
Yeah, but you got to make the stakes good enough for for the Suicide Squad to be doing something and blah blah blah. And like Superman games are hard to make because flying is a hard thing to do in games. Like it's hard to like that 360 environment without clinging to something or what. It's tough controlling. So nobody seemed to exactly have figured it out. So
yeah.
So, but I'll play it because they make good. They've made 3 really good games, so I want to play the next one.
Sure.
So. And then of course the Batman panel. We learned a lot.
Like
about
the crown jewel of the whole thing.
It sure was. And I think for me it was because there were so many unknowns about the Batman, where so much that had been released, we knew a bunch already. Like it's either sequels or like the Aquaman panel, which I totally skipped over by accident, but there wasn't anything really to tell us.
Much like Shazam, right? It was in a similar sort of place where it's like there's going to be another one.
There's going to be another one, and James Wan said that Aquaman 2 is going to be a little bit more serious. That was like his thing.
My reaction to that was like, one of the things I liked about the first Aquaman was that it was less serious than the DC films leading up to it, with the exception of Wonder Woman. So I don't know how I feel about that, but
I think maybe he just means maybe like less, like, because there's like a pee joke in it, right? You know, like in the toilet and everything. So maybe he means like, I'm going to steer away from that, but it will.
I'd be okay with that. I'd definitely be okay with that
too. I think he was going for social commentary because he said like, it's going to tie to like real world stuff, like what's happening. So I'd assume he's talking about global warming and stuff, because the first Aquaman movie kind of touches upon that, but it doesn't really dive into it. So maybe we'll get that. So I'm okay either way. I'm okay either way. But anyway, so the Batman, you know, it's its own thing. We've learned Matt Reeves talked a lot about it. It's very exciting. It's its own thing. It's quote unquote grounded again. Fine. You know, I'm good with the grounded if it's its own thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you know, like, I don't want it to be grounded, but then Superman shows up. That feels disingenuous to itself. I don't care about that. But as soon as you use a grappling gun, I'm like, it's not grounded anymore.
Sure.
You know, it's like,
I mean, it's grounded enough that he's wearing the eye makeup even when he's not wearing the mask.
I loved that.
Yeah,
I loved that because they just don't acknowledge, like, all these years of Batman wearing eye makeup and nobody acknowledges it. But there's no really discernible difference between that and like a Black Ops team wearing eye makeup in the jungle as camouflage.
That's right.
Like, that's all basically, that's what he's wearing. Like, there really isn't anything different about it. And so I like that it's full acknowledgement. Yes, he wears eye makeup. I just dug the trailer so much. I think I've watched as much as Star Wars at this point.
Nice.
I think it just played in my dreams for day, like, since it's come out. It's everything I wanted it to be based on the trailer. And they've only shot 25% before quarantine hit. So we're looking at really fresh material and like barely scratching the surface of the movie.
Yeah, whenever we get like an official trailer, like when this movie's about to come out, it's going to be, you know, at least 75% footage we haven't seen.
Right, which is great.
Yeah.
And you know what? But honestly, show me this and I'll watch. Like,
I know. This is enough.
I'm like, this was plenty. This is all I wanted. You showed me everything I needed to see. You showed me Jeffrey Wright as Lieutenant, Captain, Commissioner, whatever version he is. He looks great. It's what I wanted.
He's Gordon.
It's exactly what I wanted.
He's Gordon.
And it showed me Batman in the room with the CSI, with the police, and he's just working with them, and they're like weary, but it's okay that he's there. And I'm just like, big heart.
It's Detective Batman. It is the world's greatest detective at work. And that's, we don't really get Detective Batman in the movies. We get Vengeance Batman, and he did say he's Vengeance, but he's also Detective Batman, and I'm excited for that combination for both sides of his of his alter ego, you know.
Every version does a little bit of detective work along the way. You know, like Michael Keaton like solves the chemical crisis with the makeup and the thing in the first one. Like,
that's true.
You know, he figures out who the Penguin is in the second one. It's like there's always a little bit of detective sprinkled in, but it's never the driving force of the movie. There's a mystery that needs to be solved, and I'm going to solve it because I'm the world's greatest detective. It would be like watching a Sherlock Holmes movie where he like doesn't really solve a mystery. Like, why did I watch that?
If it's just Sherlock Holmes action hero, like he can be an action hero. I'm not against that, but he should be solving mysteries too.
That's right. Exactly.
And you're right. Batman has been shown as a detective, but I feel like usually sitting at his computer and being like, what could this clue mean?
Yeah, because there is that scene in The Dark Knight where the Joker kills those people and Batman shows up at the crime scene. The police are there, and he's like, "You all need to leave because you're contaminating the scene," you know, and like us contaminating it, and they're like, "This is literally like he's doing his thing, and they're doing their thing, and everybody." I love it.
I love it. I'm on board.
I'm on board for that. The suit is spectacular. It is. You know, I was tired of armored Batman. I've said it a lot.
You said it.
But this is really works for me. Maybe because it's multi-toned, like it's gray and black, so it feels less. It doesn't feel as Batman, like it doesn't feel as armor heavy because it still looks like a costume. Like that's why my criticism of the Nolan suits were like you barely look like Batman. That like you got horns on your helmet. You know, you're lucky if you can see the bat symbol. You know, I don't like any of that.
Right.
But
Right.
This looks good. It looks really good. He looks particularly good in it. I think every time he shows up, he's so dynamic in the frame. He like moves, even the way he moves, the way he steps and struts, and it's cool. It's very cool. We get a glimpse of his bat cave.
Yes.
Which appears to be like an old subway, like an old subway train system, because like when the motorcycle rolls in and you see the big sweeping staircase, it says Wayne something or other above the like Wayne Station or something like that above the computers and whatever else.
I didn't catch that.
And so maybe this is like, if this is like under the mansion, maybe there was like an old system above, like under the mansion that was like, my great so-and-so was like, I take the train into the city.
Maybe it's under the tower instead of the mansion. Like maybe it's under the, whatever the, Wayne
Tower is.
Wayne Tech, Wayne Industries, whatever they're calling it in this version. Yeah, maybe it's that.
Yeah,
like a subway stop that took you to the skyscraper.
Yeah. What I like about that idea is that so much of it is pre-made. And then, but on top of that you can see where it can build from there, because the whole point of this is a year 2 story. And so in the next 2 films, Matt Reeves has said it's supposed to be like, and then it goes bigger and bigger. So like you see the full arc of the character. He said this one, you see him make mistakes. He's not totally there yet. And I like that, because as much as Nolan's films are, great, like once he's Batman,
right?
And he does like make some mistakes and stuff, and he's still, but like not like I'm figuring it out Batman. Like he puts on that costume and he's good to go. So I like this idea, like Batman does screw up, and so that's the part of being human, and that's what I like about the character. Colin Farrell's Penguin is in there, unrecognizable, like he looks like Richard Kind. Or as the internet has been calling him, Richard Mean.
That was so true.
Yeah.
So true.
But he looks like the Penguin. He looks exactly like the Penguin should look, like mob boss. And Catwoman, Riddler, and Penguin are not formed yet. Batman is there, but they're not exactly there yet, and they become so also through the course of the film. I like that too. They call him the Penguin, but he doesn't like it. I'm always a fan of that.
Yes.
I saw somebody say this on Aussie. He's like, no, don't call me the Penguin. I hate that, guys. I would love to see, that. You get Catwoman, you get Selena, right? And her like pull down mask is, cut, so it kind of looks like she's got ears, and
right?
Everything. I like that, especially if she's going to take influence, right? She's going to look at Batman and be like, I can do better than what this is.
I like that idea that inspires her in a sense. Like, oh, you're being a bat, I'll be a cat.
Yeah, that's Batman year 1.
Right.
That's what prompts her in the first place.
And they've said this is like Batman year 2, where like we're kicking in just after he's done his origin story. So we're picking it up right there, which I think a lot of people will appreciate.
Yes, I appreciate that about the first Burton film, that he's already Batman. It's a couple months in, but he's already there. Their little fight scene, Catwoman and Batman's little fight scene, is like, that's what I've been waiting for right there. That's the stuff. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
We get some action. Riddler looks terrifying. If that, like full on serial killer, like Zodiac killer Riddler.
Yeah.
I'm on board for that. Really, really on board for that. The Batmobile looks cool.
That is a cool looking Batmobile. Yeah. Yeah.
Batmobile looks cool. Everybody's talking about that scene, where he takes out the guy, right? Just lots of punch
yeah.
down on the ground. It reminded me of Daredevil more than anything.
Yes.
You know, very hard hitting, in your face, doesn't stop. But I also
Very hard hitting in that guy's face.
Exactly. Oh yeah, yeah. You betcha. But obviously that's to scare the other gang members, right? Like, I'm gonna do that to you if you don't back off. But I saw somebody say it's also for the audience. For everybody who was like, Robert Pattinson, I don't know about that. And then you watch him do that, and you're like, oh, good. Okay, yes, Robert Pattinson, you do that. you could do that really well.
Yes.
Yes, you got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really, really strong stuff. Vengeance is on point.
Exactly what you want. Exactly how you want to hear it.
Mm-hmm. And then the end, which I wonder if it carries through the course of the film. So, like, you know, he's like, how do I fit into all of this? You know, you will. That's him talking to himself.
Yeah.
That's inner monologue. That's you could see the text boxes practically above his head.
Yes.
That's like, you don't get that in superhero films, inner monologue. That is not something that happens. You get that in nice noir pieces. This is almost like Batman, like David Fincher does Batman. This is what this looks like.
Batman noir.
Just throw Batman in the middle of Seven, or, you know, Usual Suspects or something like that. And so, Reeves spoke about how Darwin Cook's Batman Ego was a big influence on this. And the whole point of that story is that it's literally the ego and super ego, where it's the moral superhero or super ego of Batman is talking to the ego of Bruce Wayne, and they're like, you do everything but don't kill.
Right.
That's you do this, and so maybe he really is having a conversation with the ego and the super ego through the course of the film in his head, and I would really like that. And the whole point of Batman Ego is that Batman doesn't kill. That's the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And so, will this be the first on-screen Batman that doesn't kill? That would be nice.
That would be really, really nice.
You would literally be the first one, including Adam West, because he kills all those people when he punches them when they're dehydrated.
That's true. Didn't think about that. Huh.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. He would be the first one.
Yeah.
So maybe this Batman does not kill. You know, that would be, please God. Yeah.
That would be really, really great.
Yeah. So I'm stoked for what's coming.
That looks fantastic.
Anything.
That looks fantastic.
Yeah. And they barely showed us anything. And
Yeah.
It looks so good. Yeah. So pretty. And Gotham is a amalgamation of a bunch of different cities, which I also really like. It's, you know, they're gonna use like this square in Detroit to be Gotham Square, but they're gonna fancy it up with CG, add some different buildings. So you say like, oh, what city is that? I'm not actually sure.
I love that. So it gives
it's Gotham City.
It gives it a totally unique look and feel. It's
right.
Gotham. It's not Detroit and Chicago and New York and Baltimore and St. Louis.
Yeah, right. It's
Gotham.
City. It's its own thing.
Love that.
That's why. Yeah, but I like why they're filming in London in its own way, because that architecture is not. You don't get a lot of that around here, so that's different for us for an American city. So I'm jazzed, Frank. I'm so jazzed. I could talk about it a lot more, but I think you're done. So Frank, let's sign out with. You can find us at beerwithgeeks.com and Gmail and Facebook. You can rate and review us on iTunes. You can go to patreon.com/thoughtbubbleaudio to support all of the Thought Bubble Audio shows, and www.thoughtbubbleaudio.com to check out all of our other Thought Bubble Audio shows. Well, Frank, it of course has been an absolute pleasure. And so until next time, cheers.
Cheers.